What's up, you guys? It's your boy Miguel here to give you your daily dose of radiation. In today's video, we are covering some tips and advice, as I would call I wasn't smart enough for X-ray school until I mastered these few things. So to give you context, I am a night shift X-ray tech, been doing it for over 4 years now, and just as far as education and stuff, I personally wasn't the smartest person. So if you're out there about to begin your journey to be the future button pusher and you're like, Miguel, I don't know if I can make it through medical school. I have kids. I have dyslexia. I have C's get degrees type of person. I have a bunch of stuff going on. To all those, I can tell you, yes, you can. I am here living proof that with all these challenging kids back to back in the X-ray program, with a job, with everything going on, you can still accomplish your dreams. It's hard and it takes a lot of caffeine and giving up sleep, but you can do it. But some of the things I noticed going into the program, I've already kind of had a general idea. Like, I thought I had an idea of what school, like how hard classes were. And in the science classes, like the AMPs, biology, like you think it's a little bit hard for some people. Other people, if you're like watching this and you're like one of them Sheldon people, this is not video, not for you, because like you're smart. Or like my lady who has a photographic memory. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the average Joe, regular type of people. Going into the program, it took 1 week and one exam of getting my butt whooped by it to understand the pacing level, to understand how much time it truly takes if you're not the smartest, that you have to set aside. Because I thought in my mind I could, I'd go to school, I'd go to work, I'd come home, eat, go to the gym, chill, and then do the homework or whatever. Within a week span of being in the program, I quickly realized I was drowning. And that first chapter in Bontrager, if you read it, it's like 100 pages. And I remember the first day going home, and it was like, I think midnight. And I was there looking at everything, and I was like, damn, I gotta go to sleep. I got school in the morning. Surely I will be okay. Day 2 comes. And once again, midnight. And I was like, I didn't learn that much. I have to adapt my schedule, and I have to make a bunch of sacrifices. And I ended up having to give up the gym. I had to end up giving up more sleep. So 12 p.m. was a good night, apparently, in future version Miguel, because I would stay up late. It'd be like 2, 3 in the morning studying, because we would have an exam and I still wouldn't like the knowledge wouldn't transfer, or some of it, or wouldn't be enough to pass. And it just got really, really stressful to the point where I had to start cutting out a bunch of stuff. And it would just literally be school, daily activities to stay alive and keep everything afloat with the family, and then straight to the books. And that helped tremendously. But then later on, everything started to stack together, all the classes and quizzes and exam. And then I would struggle to still learn the stuff. And apparently now that I learned that I have dyslexia, which now that makes sense. But I finally, Quizlet helped a lot for me. But now y'all have the ChatGPT, AI, and other stuff like that could help you make flashcards. Because I would take the time and I would write little flashcards. I would have to find Quizlets online. I would have to, do the manual chore stuff. Which to me, it helped me learn that way. Apparently I do good if someone reads it to me, or if I found online, I found a PDF version of the Bontrager book, and essentially I copied the text and I put it in like in a text to speech thing, and I would sit there and it would read it for me like an audible book type of thing. Just can't confirm nor deny, but if you go on, I think it's called like libz, you can't confirm nor deny, find a bunch of PDF files on there for the free. Just letting you know. If it might not be the most updated version, but who knows? I don't know how they update that, but I remember finding it, and the whole thing was on there, and it helped me tremendously. And then lab later on came into work in clinicals. That was a whole different ball game too, because like now being a tech, looking back at the positioning, it's not that hard. I just had a lot of other stuff going on with school that made it seem just a lot. Because like you have to know the positioning, the angles, how the bone looks like, memorizing all the bones. And now looking back, like it shouldn't have been that hard, but I guess you feel overwhelmed all the time with everything going on. So I could see how it could be a lot for people. But once again, like the clinical aspect to me was like the easiest part, because it was essentially you doing your job. And if you're struggling at doing your job, well then I don't know if you're gonna make it, because like at school, how do I put this? If you're in school and you're struggling with the textbooks, but you're good at clinicals, well then it's gonna be hard for you to get your degree, and vice versa. But then, technically speaking, I'm not essentially book smart, but I can get the job done very well. And I've become one of like the best Xray techs in my department. So anyways, we'll leave that there. But I would say also you have to like try to figure out how you learn stuff, because what happens is like these medical stuff, for some people it's easy to grasp. Other people it's not as easy to learn. You have to like figure out which one, because it's different. Like it may be the same level of hardness as a regular class, but then the grading curriculum is higher to pass, and then you have everything stacking on top of each other in clinicals and life and all that, and it just feels more challenging, I feel like. But then other aspects of the class is like, you look at, like I remember the circuit board. That one, literally, when we took it, every single person, except like one, didn't fail the test. To the point where our teacher went back, and usually once they cover something, unless you ask questions or you take the time out of your day to go ask the teacher for stuff, they just keep it pushing. They just, next topic, next thing. We gotta keep it going, because there's so much stuff that they gotta essentially teach you for the board. Because essentially all you're doing is learning all the information. So if it's on the board, which even then, I learned when I took my board that there's a bunch of stuff that you didn't even learn, because there's always like the mock questions, or like the fake ones they use to prep for stuff, which you'll quickly, as soon as you'll see them, you're like, I didn't learn this. And then later on, it wasn't until I took boards that my teacher told us that there's different books that other people use. There's different like versions of, like, I think it's like one's the Bontrager, one's like the Mobley or whatever. And even those books, they cover different subjects, or different, like, not as, like, all the books cover the same general information, right? But then certain books, depending on the author, depending on what they think is more important, they go a little bit more deeper in it. And some of those you didn't cover as deep, or maybe your teacher didn't focus as much on it. And then you're just there looking at it and you're like, which was the most correct type of deal on that. But definitely you have to focus on like time management. And I would say once I graduated school and I saw how much stuff you could literally learn and how stressful life can be, and then you finish school and then you look at your life and you're like going to work and like once you finish work and then you're like everything else just seems like easy. Like even thinking back of going to cross training, or even getting like if you want to level up and get a higher degree and all the online stuff, it seems still possible to do even with a full-time job, because once you literally finish school and you see all the amount of stress you're in, you're either going to be one in two boats. Either you leave school and you're like, never again, or you leave school and you're like, damn, all this stuff I can do. If I want to continue the path, which if you get like an associate's and a bachelor's, master's, whatever, it's probably because you want to be a manager, you want to be a teacher, or you want to do other higher stuff in our field, or a director of radiology, whatever you want to do. You feel like anything is achievable at that point. Which then again, I'll look at doctors and I'm like, if I struggled, I don't even know what chaos going through like medical doctor level school must be. If we as regular people struggle with this, which is still medical, but is not like, it probably does not compared to like the doctors and stuff like that. But that's just throwing out random subjects at that point. But anyways, I hope this helps some of you. I hope some of those information is useful for you. Other people, I hope I don't stress you out. I mean, my brother wants to also push the button one day. I've told him the game and I told him the sauce, and I keep it honest with him too, because I would hate for anyone to have hopes and dreams and then not know the reality of what it takes, especially if you're just like a regular person who's not too smart, who's just an average Joe. And then you just get blindsided by the reality of the field and the stress. There's literally, within, I think, a week, it was a week, we had someone drop out. It was a month, someone else dropped out. It was a semester, someone else dropped out. And then it was when we did a clinical, some other person dropped out. So there's different stages of the game of radiology. And I hope, well, just now with all the stuff you can learn on the internet and my videos and whether, you can get a pretty good idea, because there's aspects of it that you'd be, if you didn't know, and then you just get blindsided by it. I would hate for anyone to want to pursue this and then have to drop out, because it costs a lot of money, especially in this economy. It costs a lot of money. Like, I think my degree was like $15,000 plus the prereqs another maybe 10, or I'm not sure. And I just went to an associate school. So there's people who even go higher. And I would hate for anyone to try to do this and then something happens and then they feel they can't do it, because that is devastating. So, but anyways, if you're still here, I appreciate you. And if you want to check out some memes, if you want some humor, check out the link below. And you can check out my channel as I educate you in the world of radiology. We'll see you on the next one. I'm about to go and push the button at night.